You said that 90% of land by Black farmers is has been lost over the last several hundred years.
Over the last 100 years.
100 years.
Yes.
Do you know why that is? I mean, I have my own inclination, right? I can guess, but like, top reasons that these farms are lost.
There's so many reasons. I mean, there is a lot of it is legal and sort of being intimidated by the legal system. A lot of it has been stolen, right? From legacy happenings, in which is very present today in things that are going on in the news. We also, a lot of us moved to the North in the 20s and 30s and never thought we were going to go back to the South, but now the South is back and popping, right?
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the More Rounds podcast. I'm Kim Lewis, CEO and co-founder of Chromix. And today, you guys, we have Riana Lyn, one of my faves here in food and innovation technology. She's really schooled me on everything, B2B and raw materials and agriculture in a way that I had not experienced or ever even thought about. And that's coming from me, a supply chain management expert in the industry, and then understanding what happens on the back end of the back end. And so before we get started, I want to cheers, but I'm super excited to get into this conversation with Riana.
Cheers.
Cheers. Riana, tell people about you, what you do, and how you got started in your business.
So I just want to say we originally met in Chicago, two Chicago B2B entrepreneurs, now in Atlanta. So that's pretty awesome. I've been an entrepreneur for about 14 years now. I started my first company right at the beginning of grad school, chain of juice bars with some family members, and soon after launched into a stream of B2B companies, mostly in supply chain. I've also done some consumer packaged goods, but I saw an opportunity once I left venture capital to really launch into AI and software around supply chain management in 2018. And that's when I launched Journey Foods. I am a scientist by heart and by education and training, but I've been an entrepreneur through and through. And most of that comes around data. And I've also been really creative with how I've fundraised and how I've brought in non-dilutive and dilutive funding. So it's been an exciting journey to come here, and I'm really looking forward to talking to you about this because I've started over 5 companies from $10,000 brought in, just friends and family, to making millions from that company to raising millions and starting with, $10,000 a month per revenue. So it's been all over the place, and there's lots of experiences there, but I'm truly grateful to have built a career of science within entrepreneurship.
So I want to get into this. Riana, you do have non-traditional funding. Most people are focused on venture capital and angel investors. And while that is one way to fund a business, you have funded your businesses through grants. Is it correct?
Yeah, I've done, so for Journey Foods, we've raised over 30% of our funding, over $1.5 million from grants.
Oh, wow.
And that number should double this year. One of the things that I've seen and try to tell people more and more of, and hopefully we'll talk more about that this year, and I think this podcast is an incredible time to start discussing that, is that we can build deeper solutions, more innovative-led solutions, whether they be scientific or whether they be mission-based, to look for government funding, federal, statewide, city-based, philanthropic, and it's been really interesting to see that process work through for us.
So I need you to break this down for me. I want to be able to people to understand clearly what you do. And I know you have 5 different businesses that you've done. You've exited some. You've run some Shopify stores. I know you also do pricing for B2B businesses and agriculture. And I don't know if you can name any of your clients or anything like that. But one, would love to get a clear picture for the audience what you do, and then for 2. Break down that grant funding process. So it's it's
absolutely
great to hear $1.5 million in grant funding, but what is that? You know what I mean? And how did you get it? And is it just something that anybody else can go and get? Or is it no, you're special and only you could have gotten that?
I think every business has the opportunity, especially now, to think about their R&D plan, to think about ways that they can go and get grants. And we can definitely break that down, right? So when I started Journey Foods, I was directing one of the country's biggest food and beverage venture capital funds. And one thing that was happening, we were working on companies like Beyond Meat. They were bringing in tens of millions of dollars to scale products globally. They were spending millions every year on R&D. And so I thought, why is it taking 5 years to get a decent product to the market? Why don't we use data or AI to bring those things to the market? So at Journey Foods, we use data to focus on 3 core areas of food and beverage products, and that is nutrition, sustainability, and pricing. We were the first in 2018 to really go after generative AI and patents. And so we have a patent in recipe generation. So that is generating recipes, better recipes that are more nutritious or sustainable or have better pricing, and also give you supply chain recommendations. So after we give you a recipe improvement, we also go back and look at all of the different suppliers in the market that can make the best plan for that recipe.
How does one have a patent on generating recipes?
You cannot get a patent on recipes.
Okay.
That is a whole cultural issue we don't even need to go into right now, right?
Okay.
But the process of generating recipes through artificial intelligence, through neural networks, now more than ever, if you come up with a process for changing an institution, changing like a standard operating procedure that has to do with artificial intelligence, you can go after a patent for that.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And sort of license the software and license the framework behind that. And that's what we do at Journey Foods.
Wonderful. For many of you who don't know, I'm Kim, CEO and co-founder of Curl Mix, where we help you master your curls in 21 days. Curl Mix is what makes this podcast possible, and it helps you get the best wash and go ever. So if you like my hair when you're watching the show, that is what got it here. We are now available in Ulta, you guys. Yes, it is our first retailer ever, and it's doing amazing. And I would love your support if you would go out to Ulta and try Curl Mix. All right, you guys, now back to the episode. About this $1.5 million in grant funding.
Yeah.
Where does this start? Like, were you just on grants.gov and you're searching for a grant, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to apply, and then I submit a business plan, and then voila, I get it or I don't? Is that how this is working, or no, it's something else?
It can be an exhaustive search, but like you have 15% pledge, you have grants.gov. Mm-hmm. Google's a great start. Google Black Fund, Founders Fund, for example, we've gotten money from them. I think you just have to have your eyes open. One, we have a Slack channel at the company, and some of my other projects where we're just dumping screenshots from Instagram, Google search, Google alerts on grants all the time. You do a quick scan. Let's see, does it take a long time to complete that application? If it's $10,000, probably not going to do it. Okay. If it's $100,000 or more, long application, we'll go after it. We have a deck just for grant funding, as well as frequently asked questions that always get asked here, so that we can automate the process to apply as much as possible. I think it's really important to understand when you're going after these grants, what is your impact plan or what is your innovation plan? Okay. Right. So with Journey Foods, our goal has been to change thousands of products, thousands of product SKUs, which translates into millions of products, because every SKU you're creating tens of thousands and millions of products per SKU for hundreds of millions of people.
And
right?
Can you let the people know what a SKU is?
So I can't even think of a SKU right now.
It's stock keeping units.
Yeah, yeah, right. Mm-hmm. So you're the expert in that. I haven't even thought about that in a while. But these are the numbers that like go on standard through your QR codes or your barcodes on labels, and this is how people keep international units of record for products that go into retail. We have truly thought about how most products on the market, especially packaged products, right? So Journey Foods goes after the $3 trillion packaged food market because that is very problematic today. 80 years ago, we were growing our own fruits and vegetables in our backyard, growing our own livestock. We weren't going to the grocery store. We weren't packaging food and trying to feed millions of people. Now today, a lot of food scientists are like, how can we make a cereal and a hamburger helper and a flour for everyone, every size fits all? That's problematic. That's causing a ton of cancer and chronic disease, diabetes, mental health, and everything. And so we're going after those people and how we target both grants and how we build our data, because the packaged food market, where most of these SKUs are created, has tons of opportunity in nutrition and nutrition improvement. And that's really a strong basis for how we've built the grant, our grant thesis at Journey Foods. And beyond that, we might target a school, we might target grocery stores or food deserts, we might target pricing and accessibility. So how do we get the better products priced better at grocery stores where we access them every day? And this is data and impact measures that we're going after. I think every company can say, even Curl Mix, right? Like, let's just take an example. There are millions of women that are facing scalp issues, psoriasis across the country. We want to spend $100,000 in this grant to research how to eradicate psoriasis through ingredients. And that is a thesis that you can apply directly from the work that you're doing with your products, but also in going after grants that are available in the market. And that is a public health issue.
That is such a good idea. It's basically impact driven. It's like, this is the impact that the government wants to see. And this is how we're contributing into it. And you're right. Like your company does help replace maybe bad ingredients with good ingredients or more sustainable ingredients. Like you were talking about a special kind of rice or something like that for a replacement for rice or grains. That's a really, really good point. I didn't think about that. Okay.
We can talk more about your grant strategy. Okay.
So do you have someone on staff writing these grants?
Yes. So we've always had, either like a master's student or someone that has graduated that's going after these grants. I've gone after and just written some grants sometimes, especially, once we have a database of frequent questions. So it's much easier now to spin these out. I think that, you should probably at these beginning 3 to 6 months of launching a company, figure out how to invest in that. I say that you should start around 1% of your yearly budget and go up to 5% yearly on R&D and grant writing, and also where you allocate that money after you get it on this research. Mm-hmm. And so that's $50,000 a year if you're raising $1 million or if you're spending $1 million at the company. And I think that's going to turn into 10x what you spend on it. One, getting grants more than likely, and 2, on impact of your community.
That is such a good idea. How many grants are they applying for monthly?
Probably 3 or 4 at tops. Sometimes with months when it's a lot busier, 1 to 2 grants. And sometimes we sort of look at quarterly. We have a list and sort of a spreadsheet that we're tracking these grants, and we're saying, how can we go after? Usually I set a goal, like I want to bring in 500,000 in grants this year, 2 million in grants this year. Oftentimes that's how people think about fundraising and VC or taking on revenue-based financing. And that's something that I've begun to switch, because with Journey, we used to say pre-seed 400,000, we raised that. Seed 2 million, we raised that. And then you go to Seed Plus and Series A, we're raising 5 million and 8 million. And there was a point in time where I said to myself, it's more than likely we can get 10 million over, 5 years for Journey Foods. And why wouldn't we go after that strategy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's almost a little bit, is just as much in your control as venture funding is, because venture funding is not really in your control. You have to find somebody who's willing to say yes to you, which is,
I mean, you are more in control. Like, yes, you have to meet budgets and standards and oftentimes check-ins. Some grants are, non-restricted, and so you don't have to go back and do as much reporting. But when you're bringing in like state and federal grants, you do have to direct and sort of audit the budget on that. But you get more control, right? And so for me, I've been able to think of like the times when I was first starting Journey, and people would say, are you going to go after the multi-trillion-dollar sugar industry? Right? And you're going to have a hard time raising, you're going to have a hard time getting customers, getting policy support. And when you think about opportunities to bring in grants to go after that work, it feels like you're up against less of a mountain in fixing some of these issues across the country. Or, Journey has customers in 14 different countries. And so there are different insights that we see, right, coming from South Korea or coming from Chile, where they're 5-10 years ahead of the U.S. And how they label packaging for sugars and for ingredients that cause adverse health effects. And so for me too, there's a lot more freedom in being able to speak about that on a LinkedIn or Instagram, as nutrition influencers are becoming more and more popular every single day. And when I go on my YouTube, those are the videos that get 5,000 and 10,000 views, right? Versus some of the other ones. And that is in direct conflict with some of our customers and also some of our venture funders.
You said something about having customers who are overseas. You have like 14 different customers overseas. And I know you started a venture fund, and I know you had some history helping a family juice company, and that's kind of how you broke into food. But like, how are you, everybody wants to be in the B2B industry, but no one really knows where to start to be in the B2B industry, because it feels like, how am I going to get these connections with these big wigs, people who are actually writing the checks to these corporations? Like, what steps am I taking to build a B2B business, especially in an industry that maybe considered unsexy? You know what I mean? So you really got to do some digging to get. It's fascinating to me. If I could be in the B2B industry, I probably would crush it. 'Cause you know what I mean? But
you're gonna be there. You're gonna enter it soon, probably.
So how are you doing that?
The first part of entry was really to like trade shows, unsexy conferences, but I was meeting people from 50 different countries in Vegas or in Italy at huge trade shows. And these are just vendors selling 50 different types of mushrooms and 50 different types of blueberry powder and monk
Where did
fruit,
you find out about this? So I know in my industry there's things called like the Pack Expo. There's like Cosmoprof in Vegas, and I would just hear these from like different manufacturers or like people my friends in the industry. Is that how you found out about these conferences, or did you Google this?
I mean, you have to be curious about it. But I've also been invited to speak at these conferences because I've been one of those folks that have like set out to be an innovator in the industry. So like talking about AI in food and ingredients, they want to know about this because this is coming down really fast for their jobs and for sort of operational leverage. And so luckily I was invited to these things and had exposure, like you said, from running a restaurant in a B2B manufacturer and running a global VC almost. But one thing that has helped unlock a lot of doors in B2B for me has been LinkedIn and also building a newsletter like a consumer company. And so we have thousands of subscribers to weekly newsletters, different newsletters, whether they be general news about the company, about me. We have smaller newsletters that are just industry breakouts that are real technical. And I think that presence has really helped, one, me get requests to be and speak at these conferences around the world, but two, to be trusted and be a thought leader on the B2B space, and also be someone that has been looked at as, almost a futurist in a way in B2B.
I love it. And your style is definitely futuristic too. I wonder if that's on purpose.
I mean, I try. I'm breaking out. Like I was just doing hoodies and things like in Austin, trying to stay tied to the product as much as possible. But, you know, for me, especially being a queer Black woman of color or a queer founder of color in this space, and being a Black woman, it's been very interesting to try to show up as my most authentic self. So like I can bring as much joy, as much energy into this space because food is one of the most powerful industries in the world. It has top GDP. Some countries are 80% of their GDP is food and agriculture. But in most places, I'm still one of the, I'm in my mid 30s. I'm still one of the only people in their 30s in these conferences and meetings. I'm still definitely the only queer person in a lot of these meetings. I mean, not really, but
everybody a little,
you find them at the little breakouts after the conferences, but most of the time, there's older white men running farms and running big manufacturers. And these are the people that are really making the money in the food industry. And it's been interesting to like capture my style in it.
Watching on YouTube, unfortunately, is not enough. If you've learned anything from my podcast, please, please, please leave me a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I would be so appreciative and you would help further the progress of this podcast. Now back to the episode. I didn't even know where to begin. I wouldn't even know where to start. And the only reason I know what I do know is because I'm on the buying side. So you're probably helping clients who are selling to me, right? Yeah. Can you speak to an example of how someone in the audience that's listening right now might touch the work that you've done? Like, is there a bag of chips that they're picking up? Is there a glass of milk that they might drink? And you're like, oh, like my company worked to do this on that product. And can you speak to that? You know, say what you can say. You know what I mean?
No. I mean, there are, we've worked with 4 of the 10 biggest food companies in the world, and they control 90% of the products that are in the grocery store. So
wow.
Most definitely there are products from plant-based ice creams to some of the ingredients that you even touch. I mean, we have chia seed and flax seed customers, and I know that they end up in both cosmetics and food. Of course, many products like Beyond sausages and things. And then, my goal has also been to find ways to create more, to eradicate sort of the overcomplication of feeding so many people. A lot of products have 16, 17, 30 ingredients in them, and they're not needed. And so how do we get a lot of the products that we eat every single day down to like 7 to 10 ingredients? And these are the King Arthur flowers of the world and the Unilevers of the world. And so there's definitely products. The average grocery store has about 40,000 SKUs. Over 70% of them are packaged or processed, and we've touched many of them from different insights or working over the years.
So you've had about 5 different companies, right? So you're serial entrepreneur.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I have.
What do you mean you don't know?
I have to count because right now I'm managing a few companies. I have Journey Foods. I have Adult Science Fair. Okay. I have Zora's Retreat, which is more of a corporate retreat space. I have Made by Farms and Black Farm. This is my foray into farms through projects that are spinoffs from Journey Foods. And so that's 4 right now that sort of actively operating. Now, I don't control majority of some of these companies, but I'm still pretty active in them.
So something that you talked to me about personally, I won't go into depth about it, but it was more about the Black farmers in the industry and how you feel like they are underserved and overlooked, and you're trying to help them kind of get to market. Are you able to talk to me about, like, you know, what you can say? Look, Riana's under all kind of NDAs, right? When you're the supplier, it's only so much you can share, but I would love if you could share more about what you've learned about Black farmers over the years and like what your mission is moving forward to help them.
Yeah, I mean, a part of this is going through this exploration of like family farming. You know, my family has hundreds of acres of farmland that I'm trying to unlock right now, and that's been a part of it. But one thing that we
What do you mean unlock?
like use the land. I'm trying to make sure that we farm it before it is either sold or goes through erosion or someone backs up on it and steals it. I don't know. I'm trying to make sure that 90% of black farmland over the past 100 years has been lost for so many reasons. And so I want to make sure that we can at least make $1 off of it beyond appreciation. And that's been in building a testing ground so that I understand more easily how to help other black farmers. We were a part of a $53 billion national grant by the USDA to help regional farm markets across the country. And so Journey Foods is working with black farmers from Texas and Mississippi and Arkansas to make sure that they can sell products to a Curl Mix, to some of our major, to PepsiCo, to a lot of the restaurants that we support in Houston and Austin, these places. And some of that work is developing from either projects that we had internally at Journey Foods to make sure that we can connect folks like Sweet Green back to black farmers, or that we can build the infrastructure for that to work more easily going forward.
You said that 90% of land by black farmers has been lost over the last several hundred years.
Over the last 100 years.
100 years.
Yes.
You know, we had another guest talk about that. Her family, Miller Farms. Do you know why that is? I mean, I have my own inclination, right? I can guess, but like, top reasons that these farms are lost.
There's so many reasons. I mean, there is a lot of it is legal and sort of being intimidated by the legal system. A lot of it has been stolen, right? From legacy happenings, in which is very present today in things that are going on in the news. We also, a lot of us moved to the North in the 20s and 30s and never thought we were going to go back to the South, but now the South is back and popping, right?
Everybody's moving down here. Yeah,
right,
for sure.
Exactly. And so now we're thinking, oh, wait, I'm living 90 miles. I live 90 miles now from a lot of farmland for my family, and I get to go drive there fairly regularly, and I can see it and I can feel it, and I can walk through the dirt and understand what are some of the crops that can be grown there. And so we were just selling it because we couldn't afford the taxes, or because we never thought we would return. And I think it's time for us to return to at least chipping back at that loss. We have lost from about 64 million acres of land. Now we have about 16 million acres of land. The average acre of farmland in this country is about $4,000. That is hundreds of billions of dollars of loss just in farmland ownership, but even more in the actual agriculture and processing and harvesting of that land. And those are things that I'm truly passionate about, and I think that we have the opportunity to sort of think through resources, how to make sure that we don't lose it as easily as we have in the past 100 years.
This is so interesting. So I have one more question before we get into our lightning round. Now, I'm not trying to be offensive when I ask this, but is there money in farming? Like, do people really make money as farmers? Or, on social, they'll tell you like, oh, it's like a money pit or something like that. Yeah. And so, I'm so curious to grow my own food, and I'm so curious to do all these things. And I'm like, but is this just going to be like renovating a house that never sells,
The money is in like both vertical and horizontal ownership in food industry. So let's just think of like spending $1 on a protein bar or on a bag of rice. The farmer is going to get 11 cents out of that $1. Yeah. Most of the money is the manufacturers and the retailers. Right. Some of these multi-billion-dollar companies, family co-manufacturers that you never heard of, that we're all searching for when you're trying to bottle your product and package your product and get it mixed, when you try to just move beyond your kitchen. These companies have been around for decades, and they're killing it, and they're doing extremely well in high demand. And and that demand is now reaching into like northern Mexico and parts of Canada. But I say all that to say that the money is in the manufacturing and the packing. If you can both own the farm and then you can own the processing facility right after that, I think that's where we'll have a lot more control and have a lot more wealth generation.
Now you make me think of, see, in my experience, I've just been trying to own the manufacturing and the product, right? But then there's another level. On one end is the farming, and then the other end is
like the processing and packaging right after the farm.
Yeah. There are 3 levels to it. That's a good point.
There's like 8, but you know. You
okay.
jump into
Okay. Now you got. Now I got more questions, but it's okay. Lightning round. It's like, what are the 8 levels? Most money you ever lost on a deal?
Like a fundraising deal, I turned down any deal. I turned down like $2.6 million for Journey Foods. Yeah.
I mean, can you say why?
I mean, one thing is, they said that I had to sign, like I saw the term sheet and they were like, well, if you get hit by a bus, you know, in Hawaii or something, like we can take over X. And I'm like, let me sit back and think about this. Cause like, first, I don't like you brought up that statement, but second, in that way, cause I actually don't really like standing by buses. So it really bothered me. But I mean, there's been many deals since then. You know, for me, it's been like about alignment and knowing that like, this is a really hard game. Like this is, it can be challenging. It can lead to a lot of burnout. But lots of deals have been lost and lots have been, rewardingly made. So I'm grateful.
What's a book that all entrepreneurs should read?
That's a tough one. Let me think. Like right now, I've been so focused on like food books and books that are connecting back with my soul because I'm writing a book, and that's one that I'm reading right now is called Emergent Strategy. But I would say like the best book that you can read is just a book that helps you tackle the thing you're weakest in at your company. Okay. And so often folks want to just go and read like the lean model and Zero to Run by Peter Thiel, right? And that's what you're told when you start. But just like, if you're bad at finance, go read the finance book that makes it easy for you. Like, don't go read all these like group of books that all the accelerators tell you to read.
And my last question, a myth you once believed about entrepreneurship that you no longer believe, and you cannot say that it's easy.
I once believed that if you raise $10 million from the top 3 VCs, you're building the best company in the world. And if people look at you and say you're building a unicorn, that you have the best idea. And it's not easy to grapple with that.
What do you believe now?
I believe the best companies raise the least amount of money, and the founders feel most in control of how they're truly reshaping their industry.
Ooh, that was good. That's really good. I like that.
Thank you.
Is there anything you want to leave the people with, Riana?
I hope that more Black women can talk about supply chain. And I want people to like demand that so we can have that conversation.
That's a good one. We can do that. I could talk all day about raws. When I say raws, people are like, what is she saying? Because it's like I'm saying draws. I'm saying raw material. So raws, but there's a lingo. There's a supply chain management lingo. SKUs, raws, COGS, audits, like all the things. Which we can do more here on More Rounds. Yeah. Thank you so much. Oh, Riana, where can everyone follow you?
Riana Lyn.
Riana Lyn on all socials.
Everywhere. All socials, yes.
Definitely check her out. Thank you so much for coming on the pod. I appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you. It's been good. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in to the More Rounds podcast. I'll see you guys on the next episode.